The moment Ava stepped out of the rideshare and looked up at the small restaurant, several people nearby quietly watched her reaction. The building was old, the sign above the entrance was slightly faded, and it looked nothing like the expensive places most people chose for a first date. Her date, Ethan, stood nervously by the door, holding it open with an uncertain smile. What happened next would leave everyone around them speechless and prove that sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden behind the simplest choices. Before we continue, if you believe kindness matters more than money and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone special, and subscribe to Heartline Stories for more emotional and inspiring stories. It was a bright spring afternoon, and sunlight filled the busy streets of the city. People walked along the sidewalks carrying shopping bags and cups of coffee while cars moved steadily through traffic. Ethan adjusted his shirt collar and glanced toward the restaurant entrance again. At 29 years old, he had spent weeks debating where to take Ava for their first date. He had considered expensive restaurants with rooftop views and luxurious dining rooms. He had even made reservations at one of them before canceling at the last moment. The truth was something he had not shared with Ava. A year earlier, Ethan's father had suffered a serious illness. Medical bills arrived faster than the family could manage. Ethan emptied his savings account, sold many of his belongings, and worked extra hours to help keep his family afloat. Though his father eventually recovered, Ethan was still rebuilding his finances. He could have used a credit card to impress Ava with an expensive evening, but something inside him refused to pretend to be someone he wasn't. Instead, he chose a small family-owned restaurant called Maple Corner Café. The restaurant wasn't glamorous. The tables were simple, the decorations modest, and the menu affordable. But it held deep meaning for him. During the hardest months of his father's illness, the owners had quietly provided meals for his family when money was scarce. They never asked for publicity or recognition. They simply helped because they cared. As Ava approached, Ethan braced himself for disappointment. She was 27, confident, intelligent, and successful in her career. Many people assumed she expected luxury and elegance wherever she went. Ethan worried she might see the restaurant and immediately regret agreeing to the date. Instead, Ava stopped walking and stared at the building. For a few seconds, she said nothing. The silence made Ethan's stomach tighten. Then something unexpected happened. Ava's eyes began to fill with tears. Several people nearby noticed. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. He feared he had somehow offended her before the date had even begun. But Ava wasn't upset. She slowly looked at the restaurant sign, then at Ethan, and a warm smile spread across her face. As they entered, the elderly owners immediately recognized her. Their faces lit up with surprise and joy. They greeted her like family. Ethan stood frozen, confused by what he was witnessing. The answer came gradually as they sat near a window overlooking the sunny street. Years earlier, before Ava had achieved professional success, her mother had raised her alone while working multiple jobs. Money had often been scarce. During one particularly difficult period, when her mother lost her job unexpectedly, the same restaurant had quietly helped them. The owners frequently packed extra meals and refused payment when they learned of their situation. Ava had not visited in years. Seeing the restaurant again brought back memories she had never forgotten. Suddenly, what Ethan had considered a source of embarrassment became something entirely different. As afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows, they shared stories about their families, struggles, and dreams. There was no need for expensive decorations or fancy entertainment. The atmosphere felt genuine, comfortable, and real. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt completely himself. He admitted how worried he had been about choosing the restaurant. He explained how difficult the previous year had been and how hard he had worked to support his family. He expected judgment. Instead, Ava listened carefully. The more he spoke, the more she respected him. Many people she had met were eager to display wealth and status. Few were willing to show vulnerability or honesty. Ethan's decision to remain authentic despite his fears revealed more about his character than any expensive dinner ever could. Outside, people continued passing by, unaware that inside the small cafe, two lives were beginning to connect in an extraordinary way. Hours passed almost unnoticed. The lunch crowd came and went. The afternoon sun shifted across the floor. Staff members smiled as they watched the pair continue talking and laughing. At one point, Ethan noticed an elderly customer struggling to carry several bags. Before anyone else reacted, Ava stood up and helped the woman to her car. She returned moments later as if it were the most natural thing in the world. That simple act told Ethan even more about her than their conversation had. Kindness recognized kindness. As the date drew toward evening, the restaurant owners brought over a small dessert. They explained that they wanted to celebrate seeing two people who appreciated the values they had always tried to uphold: gratitude, humility, and compassion. Neither Ethan nor Ava could find words. The moment felt bigger than a first date. It felt like fate quietly weaving together two people who understood hardship and never forgot those who helped them through it. Years later, both would remember that afternoon not because of the food or the restaurant itself, but because it revealed something important. True connection begins when people stop performing and start being real. Before we reach the ending, we'd love to hear from you. Please comment below with the word kindness if you believe small acts of generosity can change someone's entire life. As they finally walked outside, the sky remained bright and clear. The city buzzed around them, yet neither seemed eager to leave. What started as a date Ethan feared would fail had become one of the most meaningful days of their lives. The people who had witnessed Ava's emotional reaction earlier now understood why she had been moved to tears. It wasn't disappointment. It was gratitude. It was the realization that the man standing beside her valued honesty over appearances and character over status. Months later, their relationship continued to grow. They volunteered together, supported community projects, and often returned to Maple Corner Café. The owners eventually displayed a framed photograph of the couple near the entrance, reminding customers that life's most beautiful moments often arrive in the simplest places. The lesson spread far beyond that little restaurant. Some people spend their lives searching for luxury while overlooking what truly matters. Others discover that genuine love, respect, and compassion cannot be measured by price tags. On that sunny afternoon, Ethan thought he was risking everything by choosing a cheap restaurant. In reality, he was revealing the very qualities that made him worth loving. And Ava's reaction left everyone speechless because it reminded them of a truth many had forgotten: when hearts are sincere, even the simplest table can become the perfect place for an unforgettable beginning. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories that remind the world that kindness, humility, and genuine love still exist.